Howdy, Legendary Void here, and today I have a Wave 5 deck tech. Sort of. It's more of me just thinking ahead for when Wave 5 comes out in April. Of course, there are a lot of stratagems for that are coming out in this set, as it is the debut set for those cards, and I am very fond of one of them. Of course, it's of one of my favorite characters, which is Autobot Cosmos. So, if you guys are familiar with this card, when you reshuffle your deck while this is attacking, KO the defender if it has 12 stars or fewer. Of course, that effect in and of itself is outright broken. However, there are plenty of cards nowadays that are very strong that are more than 12 stars. And that is kind of what has made Autobot Cosmos fall out of favor. Don't get me wrong, being able to KO a character while reshuffling your deck is pretty easy nowadays, considering that he is a specialist and he works well with specialist cards. Unfortunately though, the fact that cards have more stars than 12 is really what has dragged him down. So the fact that the stratagem, and I'll put this up on the screen so you guys can see what it does, but the stratagem makes it to where he can KO characters with 21 stars or less. For one more star to Autobot Cosmos' character, which he's already 11, makes him effective 12. He becomes a 1/21/1 for 12 stars that can KO characters that have 21 stars or less when you reshuffle your deck. Absolutely fantastic. And I knew, of course, I have to find a way to do this, because Cosmos has been one of my favorite characters. He was the first rare I've ever pulled in the Transformers card game. So of course we gotta find ways to abuse that. Now he has a spaceship specialist in his alt mode, and his alt mode effect is whenever you flip to this mode, scrap all cards from your hand and then draw that many. Now this is a really nice way to actually flip through your deck, seeing it as if you have a massive hand, you can just drop it and then boom, there goes half your deck. And then you just have to make sure you've timed everything right. The big part of Cosmos decks is timing. You have to make sure you've timed everything right so that Cosmos can get that critical KO on whoever you want it to go into. So how do we get Cosmos to be able to shuffle through his deck so quickly? What kind of characters can help him do that? And I have two words for you: Rescue Patrol. So first off, we're starting out with Private Stakeout. Private Stakeout, he's really not much to talk about. He's a 4-cost character that is a car specialist, stealth while untapped, as all patrol cards do. But he has a tap effect, scrap a white card from your hand and then flip a character to one of its other modes. Now, Stakeout, he's really not much in this deck. Being able to tap him and flip a character, mainly Cosmos, so he can get his effect off and then flip back. It's nice and all, but to be perfectly honest, Stakeout is more there just to take the initial hit, because this deck doesn't have a lot of good initial attackers. Stakeout is mainly there so that you can swing him in first and your opponent has to go into him. And of course next we have Private Fix-It, which says tap him, scrap a white card from your hand, and then both players drop their hand and then draw 4. It's a nice way of just getting 4 cards through your deck. Any amount of cards that is above 3 is just a nice way of being able to cycle through your deck a bit quicker. So Fix It is nice in that regard. However, again, he is more of a absorber for an attack so that you can get Cosmos' effect off. However, if he does live an attack, which is entirely possible because there are more blue cards than orange or any other color in this deck, and he has 6 health and 1 defense, it is possible that if your opponent doesn't put resources in, Fix It may survive a hit and then be able to actually get his effect off on another turn. And the last character we're playing, because so far we have effective 12, 16, 20, we have 5 stars more, which we are going to use on Private Red Heat, because they're both 4, he's a 5, and he's effective 12. So Red Heat is kind of what has made a lot of specialist decks, and almost what has prompted his ban for the Infinite Combo deck, and a lot of other stuff for, let's say, Daring Escape. But he is really interesting because he has the ability to effectively use swap parts in his ability, because you scrap a white card and tap him, and then choose 2 of your characters and swap all their upgrades. Now, specialist cards, which they all are in fact specialist, all have an effect that whenever you put them onto a character, something triggers. And now whenever they get moved over, something else will also trigger again. That effect will also trigger. For example, Field Communicator. If I have this on Red Heat, I'll take the top card of my deck, scrap it, and then I may play it. And then if I decide to use his ability, it gets moved over to Cosmos, and then it'll trigger again. Very, very nice for cycling through your deck, because there are a lot of cards, of course, that are going to mill through your deck as fast as they can. And then Red Heat kind of stimulates that by moving around upgrades that can trigger those cards. So that's the character lineup. It's not very surprising, to be perfectly honest. Having a specialist lineup is very, very typical for this kind of a deck. But we're going to go ahead and get into the actions, which there are a bunch of them. So first of all, this is one card I think is a little underrated in Cosmos decks. Heat of Battle. All characters get Bold 3 and Tough 3. If you can stack this card, you can get up to Bold 9. Which, again, that's 9 cards through your deck, as opposed to just 2, making it 11. 11 cards, and then if you flip a white, which is highly likely, I can't talk, then you're flipping 13 cards. So if you're 13 away from being able to hit Cosmos' effect, boom, 3 Heat of Battle, and you've basically got it. In the Tough 3 doesn't even matter, because if Cosmos KOs an opponent's character, they don't even get to flip for Tough 3, because at that point their character has already been KO'd. Very, very strong card. And being a white pip is again another thing for you can tribute for Red Heat or Fix It or Stakeout, because they all take white pips in their tap effects. And then we're playing, since they are all Autobots, we're playing 3 copies of Confidence, draw 2, scrap 2, and then if you have a team of only Autobots on your starting team, you can play an action. The main reason we're playing this is for that extra action. You want to filter through your deck, which is 2 cards gone right off the bat, and then you also get to play another card. Say Treasure Hunt or Inspiring Leadership, or just something that can help you mill through your deck even faster. Say even a Brainstorm if you draw into it. So it's just a nice way of accelerating more actions. We are playing 3 copies of Treasure Hunt. Now this card is really, really good in this kind of deck, because it automatically gets rid of 4 cards from your deck. It doesn't matter that some of them might go to the scrap pile, because it only puts upgrades into your hand. All actions do go to the scrap pile, but all the upgrades that are going to your hand are going to be playable most of the time. Especially things like Field Communicator, Scrapper Gauntlets, and the like. So it's a nice card of just getting rid of 4 right off the bat, guaranteed. There's no consequence for really doing it. It's just 4 out of the way from your deck. And of course we are playing 3 copies of Confidence. Brainstorm. You may play an action, then you may play another action. This card is especially good in this kind of deck, because you're just going to be able to play more cards that let you filter through your deck. And you're kind of seeing a running theme, I'm sure. Every card in this deck, every single card is going to be a card that lets you mill through the deck. Every single one. There's not one card in this deck that won't effectively either help you in that regard or protect someone that's going to help you in that regard. So since Cosmos is a spaceship and his effect lets you mill through your deck some more, we're playing Unconventional Flying Object ×2, because he lets you trigger your effect while also being able to flip a few times for free effectively, because you get to flip a spaceship to bot mode and then back, which will automatically trigger Cosmos if he's already in his alt mode, which is very, very nice. And since you're able to accelerate so many upgrades onto your characters through cards like Treasure Hunt, you can play 3 copies of Equipment Enthusiast, which this card can be insane sometimes, because it lets you draw a card for each of your upgrades. So if you can have have 2 of your characters at least fully loaded out, you play Equipment Enthusiast, you get to draw 6. 6 cards is incredible to have in your hand. It's just such a good way of being able to cycle through your deck, while also giving yourself more options to be able to cycle through your deck. And here's another card for whenever you have either a small hand or a bad hand. Scrap your hand, then draw 3 cards, plus it is a white pip. Backup plan is nice for being able to just refresh your hand almost, and be able to get brand new 3 cards. It also filters 3 cards when you think about it that way, as well as also being potential tap fodder for one of the private rescue patrols. And the last action we're playing is 3 copies of Inspiring Leadership. This is 3 more cards that you're able to filter through your deck, but you do have to scrap 2 cards from your hand, which usually isn't that big a deal, because you usually will have such a massive hand that dropping 2 isn't that big of a deal most of the time. So that's all the actions. There is a whole bunch of them, and they are all useful, every single one of them. And then of course we do have a few secret actions, being 3 copies of Hidden Fortifications. The Tough 3 is incredible for cycling through your deck, as well as keeping whoever you want alive. Plus the fact that the secret action is in fact optional. If you are unsure if you're going to be able to cycle through your deck quick enough, or you might overdo it, as in you shuffle too early and you'll miss the hit on Cosmos, you can choose to even not activate it if you know you can hit it through some other way. So very, very nice. And this card is a recent addition to the deck list, which is Step Forward. So cards like Red Heat, you kind of would like to keep for a while, although they aren't exactly necessary 100% of the time. But Step Forward basically prevents one of your characters from effectively dying, because it makes one of your characters get brave, an Autobot, for example. So let's say Fix-It managed to live a hit. He's tapped, and Red Heat is also tapped. Your opponent's trying to swing into Red Heat to just go ahead and get rid of him right off the bat. You can play Step Forward, reveal it as your secret action, and boom, now they have to attack the damaged Fix-It, and their attack has been wasted, and Red Heat is still available for another turn. Alright, and to the upgrades, we are starting off with weapons. We are playing 2 copies of Drill Arms. When you put this on a character, scrap an enemy armor. If you can't, draw a card. The dropping of an armor isn't even that big of a deal, to be perfectly honest. You're mainly there just so you can draw an extra card, because giving +1 attack is nice sometimes, because I actually have been able to KO characters with my attack values on my characters, because you are able to put a good amount of upgrades on your characters, being Field Communicator and Drill Arms. They both give +1 attack, and characters that have low defense, you can actually go through with this sort of deck and don't even have to use Cosmos' effect on them, which is actually quite interesting to do. It's kind of funny almost that you don't even have to use Cosmos to KO someone. You have an alternate way of doing it. But Drill Arms is mostly there just so you can draw a card for when your opponent doesn't have an armor. Plus, if you know your opponent's playing Equipment Enthusiast, it is a nice way of just removing upgrades to begin with. We are also playing 3 copies of Multi-Tool. When you put it on a specialist, you can play another upgrade. This is mainly in there so you can generate as many upgrades from your hand onto your characters as quickly as you can, so that you can play those very important Equipment Enthusiasts, so you can have upgrades galore on your characters, be able to just draw for massive amounts, and that's mainly for that reason. We are playing 1 copy of Backup Beam. This is mainly going to be put on Cosmos, seeing as he's going to have Bolt 2 now, meaning he's going to flip 4 cards on his attack, putting him that much closer to being able to flip through his deck every time he swings. Plus, on the critical turn, if you do have 4 cards left in your deck, you're going to be able to hit it guaranteed, even if you do not have a white pip in there. So it's very, very nice. Plus, the green pip on that card is definitely makes it worth playing, as opposed to, say, Flamethrower. For armors, we have 3 copies of Scrapper Gauntlet. We're playing those for the same reasons we're playing Drill Arms. They do drop an enemy weapon, but they do let you draw a card if they don't have a weapon. Plus, dropping enemy weapons is very, very important, seeing as you want to keep your guys alive as long as possible, and if they have weapons on them, you want to drop those so they can be doing less damage. Plus, the 1 defense helps keep your guys alive a bit longer as well, since it is an armor. And one more armor we're playing is Reinforced Plating. We are just playing 1 of these. Tough 2 helps you filter through your deck a bit faster, as well as it is a blue pip, so it helps you with defense, as well as just being able to keep your guys alive a bit longer, because so long as the small guys live, Cosmos is just going to be able to flip through the deck that much quicker. And last but not least, for the utilities, we are of course playing 3 copies of Field Communicator. It gives +1 attack, as well as when you put it on a specialist, you can play the top card of your deck or scrap it. So it's kind of nice in that you can play basically whatever's on the top of your deck. It could be anything from a Hidden Fortification, from a Equipment Enthusiast to a UFO. It's just very, very nice card it's a little random, I'll give you that, but if you can play it and get a nice, say, Brainstorm off of it, and you can just play a whole bunch of cards to filter through your deck, even some more, it's nice that you can get an action off Field Communicator, which is the exact reason they banned multi-mission gear, because it lets you play an action off of equipping it to a specialist. But you can potentially flip an action off of it, but if you do, it just makes your ability to filter through much, much stronger. As well as we are playing 1 copy of Pocket Processor. You're typically going to play this on Cosmos because he's going to be your last attacker usually. You're going to be able to draw a few cards throughout the rounds. And if you want to get rid of it for Field Communicator, you're also welcome to do that as well. But the green pip allows you to basically get it on pretty early and keep drawing cards through your deck. It is a little bit of an issue sometimes with timing, I've noticed, and that sometimes whenever I'm counting the cards left in my deck, I don't take into consideration that I'll be drawing 2 at the start of my turn, and that potentially messes me up for defensive flips with my hidden fortifications. But otherwise, once you learn how to count that in time, the amount of cards you're going to be flipping for both attack and defense, you're really going to be able to play this deck a lot more efficiently than you were before. So for sideboard purposes, we are going to be trying to do something with the characters that Cosmos cannot kill. For example, if your opponent's playing a combiner, even if it's Omega Supreme, it is 1 star more than what Cosmos is able to kill. So if that ever comes up and you're not able to get rid of all the small guys fast enough with Cosmos' ability, you're going to want to play Daring Escape Springer. So since Cosmos is an effective 12, it's really easy to just swap Cosmos out in the stratagem along with the 12-star Springer, because he's just a fantastic card for generating cards, as well as trying to Daring Escape. It's just a fantastic way to try and win, especially when the rest of your team is specialist. You can try and generate the same way you would with Cosmos, just tons and tons of cards in your hand and onto the field, so that your opponent doesn't get a chance to even get to kill all your characters before you've already escaped, because your scrap pile and deck are empty, which is just a fascinating way to win to begin with. But of course, since you're going to be playing Sergeant Springer in the sideboard, you're going to be playing 2 copies of Conversion Engine. It lets you flip a character that has more than one alt mode at the end of the turn to a different mode. This is of course very, very good for Springer's bot mode, saying that if you have 7 or more cards in your hand and you flip to this mode, you get to play an extra action and an extra upgrade. And mind you, this isn't even before your opponent's turn has started. So you get to play an action and an upgrade effectively right before your opponent's turn begins, and you just get to keep going through your turn again and again, and you're always basically going to have 7 or more cards in your hand almost at all times, because of just how much you're drawing and how much you're drawing. Springer's abilities are all so insane. So of course you're going to be wanting to do that and draw and draw and draw, so you can get the Daring Escape off. So one card that's almost always paired with Sergeant Springer is Showing Off. This card lets you flip to one of your characters to one mode and then flip it to another mode. And the fact that it is a blank pip card doesn't really matter in that the effect that it gives is so worth it. Because you get to scrap an upgrade or a action from your hand and then draw 2 cards. And then since you're being able to draw so many cards, then you can flip back here and trigger this. And if you're able to play an action off of this, you can flip again with another Showing Off and flip to one of his alt modes and back again, and then play another Showing Off. And just the way that this triggers is insane, because you can just constantly flip, draw, and then get to play more actions and more upgrades, and just abuse those rules of being able to only play 1 action and 1 upgrade. And it's just such a fantastic way of being able to just take so much advantage over those rules and use Springer's abilities to its fullest. And then we have 2 copies of Disarm. This is for the few times, say when you're going against characters that are able to generate so many upgrades at a time. Say if you're playing against Overwhelming Advantage. Overwhelming Advantage will definitely stomp Springer, because they just have to get 1 damage onto him before just pinging him for 15, and then he's dead, and then your deck falls apart. So of course Disarm's going to be there for those few situations when you go against that sort of deck. And then we do have 1 more card in the sideboard, which is going to be 1 copy of Stable Cover. This is for whenever you go against those heavy Pierce decks. And of course, since you're drawing so much, the odds of drawing Stable Cover is going to go up substantially, even if you are only playing 1 copy of it. Plus the black pip is decent if you want to try and get off some damage with the little guys, although that doesn't typically matter most of the time. But getting rid of Pierce from an attack from your opponent is very nice, if they are doing the specifically heavy Pierce deck. So yeah, here's my Wave 5 Cosmos deck. I'm super excited to play this officially when the deck comes out, so I can use the stratagem to its fullest. I'm super excited to be able to just KO characters back to back, and just being able to filter through my deck super easily, and then just playing Sergeant Springer whenever I have to. But it's just such a fun deck. I've enjoyed playing it against my friends. They've agreed to let me just pretend I have the stratagem just so I can test the deck out, and boy does it work. This deck is so fun to play, and I really do enjoy it. If you want to just give it a try even before the set comes out, you're more than welcome to take this list or make your own. All it is really just specialist fun, and just trying to do as much stuff and draw through your deck as fast as you can. It's very fun, and it takes a lot of mind to play. Even after just playing 1 game, it really wears you out, because you have to think so far ahead, count all the cards in your deck multiple times. It gets pretty crazy eventually, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, have a phenomenal day. Peace.